Hello and welcome to the webinar where we'll dive into finding the relationship between SAP Logistics and Business Technology Platform. This is a special initiative by SCM Champs, where apart from doing implementations and support in the areas of extended warehouse management and transportation management, we also make sure that the supply chain community stays strong and up to date. We have with us Frank, who will be taking us through the webinar. Keep your questions coming. Over to you, Frank, and please introduce yourself.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so just before I start showing my screen, hello everybody and welcome to this webinar. My name is Frank Omare. I work for SAP, and my role within SAP is to support the go-to-market and adoption of SAP BTP across two lines of business, one being spend management and the other one being digital supply chain. I've been with SAP for over 10 years now, and my background is very much procurement and supply chain. I've worked in that space for many, many years, more than I care to mention. And I've done everything from research and development through to manufacturing, through to running a procurement function as a procurement director. I've also done consulting in procurement and supply chain with EY and PwC. So delighted to be here today. Hopefully you'll find this talk very interesting. So without further ado, let me just share my screen if I can. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me just move into presentation mode if I can. Okay, so today's topic is obviously SAP BTP and what value it brings to logistics. So in terms of what we're going to cover, so this is very much an overview, but I appreciate that we do need to go into some detail to bring to life this important topic of what BTP brings to the world of logistics. So we'll start first of all by just giving an overview of what is SAP BTP, and that's just to level set. Then we'll get into the value proposition of BTP in the world of supply chain. And then we'll go deeper into what does it bring to logistics. I've got 4 use cases that I'll take you through and 2 customer stories. And then we'll wrap up with further information. And I look forward to your questions later on. Okay, so overview of BTP. So what is it? So it is a technology platform, and it brings together a lot of the things we've heard about in terms of application development, so developing new applications, enhanced data and analytics, integrating different platforms and processes, and AI capabilities, which are infused in supply chain processes. So in terms of the features of BTP, I'm sure you're familiar with those, but let's just very quickly go through those. It has over 1,000 pre-built data models, integrations, workflows, applet, and as I mentioned, AI business services. I've been asked before, does it work with ECC? Yes, it does. It works well with ECC as well as S/4HANA Cloud, and it's also suitable for private and public cloud S/4HANA. So I just want to just clarify that because I've been asked those questions a few times before. It's available with a wide range of hyperscalers, and it enables customers to use their preferred cloud. And from my perspective, it really gives the best of both worlds because you're able to use BTP services in conjunction with the services from your hyperscaler of choice. For example, Coca-Cola, which uses BTP on the Azure cloud, is able to use SAP integration with Workday, Salesforce, and of course, SAP. So I just want to just level set in terms of what is BTP, its key features, and what it can do. So what is changing in the world of supply chain and why should we consider BTP? Well, we know that the pandemic created quite a few surprises in terms of how fragile our supply chains are, how complex they are. And it also exposed a number of weaknesses in terms of resilience. and made us realize that we need to simplify our processes, we need to automate them, and we need to be able to respond to changes in the market. To date, we know that less than 50% of manufacturers have fully integrated smart devices or embedded intelligence in their production processes. So we know the potential is there, and we also know the need is there. The other thing is that supply chains need to consider broader initiatives as well. So I've talked about digital transformation, digitalization, but also supply chain resilience and sustainability. So how does B2P and digital supply chain solutions work together? And some of you may have seen Prabhjot's reminder about the webinar where he talked about the marriage between B2P and DSE. It is very successful. It's a very happy marriage. It helps customers to realize the investments that they've made in supply chain solutions. So I just want to demystify what B2P is. B2P is a platform technology which enables you to build upon what you have already. So this notion about it being a new solution where you have to rip out and replace what you've got already, that is not true. It enables you to leverage the investment you've already made in supply chain solutions and to take and enhance those solutions to move it towards best practice. So the headline here is that B2P complements what you already have, and depending on your needs or your views of best practice, it can actually transform what you currently have and build upon those things. You may have seen this diagram before. Essentially, it just pulls together all the features and functions of B2P, and it not only covers supply chain management, but also customer relationship management for those of you who work in the procurement space, spend management, business network, and also human capital management. The platform enables you to create experiences, enables you to build applications faster, and to run with a trusted enterprise-grade platform. In terms of some of the things you may have heard of before, application development, automation, integration, data analytics, artificial intelligence, AI, they're all part of B2P. So in terms of some of the things which are specific to our conversation today, data analytics, and we do have some use cases which will talk about that, enables you to provide robust, flexible analytics. Build applications, as I mentioned before, enables you to enhance and extend what you currently have. Integration enables you to integrate your processes, enables you to integrate different platforms. And as I mentioned, in terms of SAP integration, it allows you to have the best of both worlds, as I called it before, in terms of cloud services and B2P services. And artificial intelligence, which everybody's talking about these days, is something which enables you to enhance what you've got already, and that is available through B2P. So again, another thing I want to demystify is that AI is something which is separate from B2P. It is actually part and parcel of the offering of the technology platform. How should you view B2P? Now, this is something which I always tell people. SAP provides a variety of solutions, but I want you to think about this as being one SAP solution. I don't want you to think about it being digital supply chain over there and B2P over there. Just think about it as being one holistic solution that enables you to meet the specific needs of the organization or the customer. Okay, so in terms of digital supply chain, we have a whole host of solutions from design all the way through to operate. And in terms of B2P, we have the analytics, build, integration, and AI. So all of those come together as one solution to meet the specific supply chain needs of the customer. So the focus here is really on discovery. So what are the challenges facing the organization? What are the recommendations? What do we need to improve? What do we need to transform? And then take a step back and holistically, how does B2P and DSE solutions come together as one SAP solution to meet the needs of the customer? So the focus is very much on solving problems rather than just presenting products. Okay, so let's step into the world of logistics. So we know that it's very complex, it's very difficult, and it is, if you like, the last stop before the organization engages with the customer. So this is where the perception of the organization is so critical. This is a last stop. So you can do all your planning, you can do all your digital, you can do all your manufacturing, you can do all the digital manufacturing, you can do all those great things. But if your logistics, if your warehousing and your transportation lets you down, that impacts on the SLAs you have with the customer. So this is a last stop before the customer. It's estimated, but I know I'm talking to people who work in this space. You will fully appreciate what I'm saying. So here we have challenges in terms of costs, trying to move things physically in the cheapest way possible and the most efficient way possible, and at the same time meeting the needs of the customer. We also talk about sustainability. So it's not just about reducing carbon footprint, it's also about energy utilization, fleet management. It's also about getting things to the customer in the fastest, cheapest way possible that doesn't impact on the environment. So all of these things are critical, and they impact on COGS, cost of goods sold, omni-channel operations. Again, with logistics, there are various channels to the customer, whether it's online, mobile apps. At the end of the day, things still have to be moved physically. So it is quite complex. It's underestimated in terms of its criticality, in terms of moving the right product to the right customer, right price, right time, etc. So SAP is used to build out extended warehouse management and transportation management to meet the specific needs of the customer. And of course, we got the business network for logistics. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the use cases. So this use case is all about logistics operations and network. The next one I will talk about will be more about warehousing, and then we'll talk about some other use cases as well. So in terms of the challenge, we know that, and this is based on a real use case that we have. So we've got high logistics costs, which is quite common across different service providers and contracts. There's a lot of effort, a lot of manual checking, a lot of paperwork to meet customer deliveries, which short lead times. And also some of the challenges are to respond to new orders. So how do you manage all of those things from the warehouse? And it's also having visibility across the total distribution network, whether it's a regional distribution center, a local distribution center, or even engaging with your third-party carriers. So those are the type of challenges. And then the solution is all around transportation management, extended warehouse, SAC, DataSphere, bringing those solutions together to drive specific outcomes around delivery, reducing costs, reduction in fleet with optimal planning, visibility across the entire logistics operations, and the ability to respond faster to issues. And that is great from a tactical perspective. But from a strategic perspective, what we also need to think about is a future utilization of the logistics network. So using all this data in terms of performance, deliveries, working out what is the best, how you can actually utilize the distribution network to meet specific needs of the customer. So there's a lot of learning that we can actually incorporate into this analysis, and that's what this use case delivers. Storage, a key area for logistics. So this one is what we call intelligent storage slotting. So intelligent storage location helps customers to make adjustments to the location of stock in real time. So inventory fluctuations, lack of inventory transparency, organizations having to go out into the warehouse sometimes, look at the stock, check what's on the system, do any stock reconciliation before they can commit to an order. All of this takes up time. And it impacts your ability to respond quickly, particularly if you've got some customer contracts where it's day one for day two deliveries. So basically, you've got 24 hours to get the order and ship it to the customer. And sometimes it's very difficult, particularly when you've got multiple SKUs, if you're running promotions, for example, or you're phasing out old SKUs and bringing in new SKUs for a particular product. It's difficult to determine the stock levels precisely for each SKU. And this is what this solution is about. It brings in the transportation solution, extended warehouse, analytics, and data just like in the previous business case, use case. And this gives you the visibility that you're looking for in terms of stock. You're able to bring in Internet of Technology sensors that provide real-time information about your stock levels at SKU level. And again, that is really, really critical. Not only because of the different products you may have, but sometimes when you're running promotions and you have to respond very, very quickly. Again, it's making sure that you're getting out into the trade the right SKU for that particular promotion. And it's also making sure that at the end of the promotion, you have actually used up all the stock. And that way you're able to avoid the write-off costs, which we typically see in consumer products organizations. So data can be analyzed in real time, and obviously you've got the reduction cost due to real-time inventory monitoring, which we've been talking about. Okay, so I'm going to talk through, in the interest of time, some other use cases, but at a very high level. So hopefully you've got a sense of what B2P can bring to the world of logistics. So we talked about one particular use case around the logistics network, visibility. There's one particular, another particular use case where we talked about visibility of of the stock in the warehouse in real time using Internet of Technology sensors. So for this particular use case, which we call expedite freight verification and SAP transportation management, just think about a situation where you've got high volumes of delivery notes. So you've got so many orders and you've got so much information in terms of documentation, in terms of delivery notes. Typically, you have to go through all those one by one and allocate the stock to each of those orders. That takes time and there's errors. Using B2P, you can actually speed up that and automate it. So you can actually have automated checks of the information in delivery notes, high volume and high degree of accuracy. So it minimizes errors and it also reduces the amount of time spent in manual checks. Improve warehouse efficiency with intelligent slotting in SAP Extended Warehouse. Very similar to the use case I talked about earlier on. This analyzes information around stock, how we move the stock, how we've been able to manage inventory to meet specific demand, and it enables you to optimize the space you have in the warehouse for each type of product. And this is a key thing for this particular use case. It proposes storage options for the warehouse manager. So this is very much an enabler and a friend to the warehouse manager. Not convinced? Okay, we have another two. So we've got logistics optimization. So this is full utilization of the internal logistics network. So this is within the four walls of the warehouse, in terms of forklift trucks, sprinter vans, lorries, etc. So it enables you to have greater insights in real time in terms of what is happening, so you can plan your logistics much more efficiently. And when you come to set up contracts with your logistics carriers, you can actually specify what it is you want them to do, and also make sure that the SLAs are in line with what you want to do in the contracts. So it gives you information not only to run your own network, but also enables you to frame the contracts with your logistics carriers. The other use case I want to talk about Again, this one is at a high level. Is this single view of material availability. So what do I mean by material availability? I mean the availability of products to serve the needs of your customers. So in terms of the lead to cash cycle, so having an order or a lead all the way through to delivering to the customer and getting cash back into the business, what we call lead to cash, that is absolutely critical to the success of a business and not just the supply chain. So it's important to make sure that the information you have on available stock is up to date and can be accessed in real time, not just for the organization, but also for the logistics carriers and also some of your partners who are part of that total distribution network. So it enables you to deploy the application development feature of BTP to provide access to that information in real time to everybody who's part of that supply chain ecosystem. Okay, so that's 4 use cases I've taken you through, 2 with some degree of detail, and the other 4 are being at a high level. But I just want to get over to you that there are many use cases in this area. So I just want to take you through 2 customer stories just to bring this to life. So in terms of optimizing inventory, logistics, and supply chain operations efficiency, this customer story relates to a telecoms company in North America. And they were able to use BTP to address some of the challenges that they were having in terms of meeting the needs of the customers. OTIF, so on time in full, was very, very low. They weren't able to allocate orders accurately. A lot of it was paper-based and subject to a lot of errors when it came to loading and picking. And also in situations where they had agreed with the customer to expedite the delivery for critical products, there was no means of actually capturing the expedited transportation. So it meant that they were just putting through one charge to the customer, and it wasn't really broken down in terms of the cost to serve. So by using B2P, they were able to overcome these challenges. And you can see on this slide some key numbers here in terms of 20% reduction in days in inventory, 30% reduction in inventory carrying costs, 40% reduction in total logistics costs. And we're able to resolve a lot of the issues born out of manual processing and paper-based prioritization of picking. So what I've just showed you was a customer story based on a real life situation, telecoms company in North America. Now for this particular one is an approved customer reference story. So you will find this one on sap.com. Now, for those of you who are looking at this slide and thinking, well, first of all, Frank, this slide looks really busy. Secondly, I'm not seeing a lot of warehousing here. Yes, that is true. The reason for showing this slide or this customer reference story is that I don't want us to forget that logistics is part of the overall supply chain, either in terms of building a new factory, in terms of design of new products, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of storage, in terms of distribution, et cetera, et cetera. So what we have here is what I would call a holistic supply chain customer reference story. So you can see there in terms of some of the challenges, building a factory from scratch, having employee best practice in their operations, product quality, sustainability, all important challenges and also opportunities. And they came to SAP because of B2P, enable us to connect the data in the 1,600 sensors, using S/4HANA to do all the analysis, provide information in real-time monitoring of the factory sensor data, having customized performance dashboards. And then you can see here that there was also extended warehouse management applications in scope here. So in terms of the benefits, a lot of them are sustainability related because that was key for the customer: energy and water reduction, efficiencies, fine tuning, reduction of waste almost down to zero. But I've highlighted here where extended warehousing management was extended using B2P to support a 24-hour production cycle using laser-guided vehicles controlled by extended warehouse management. So you can see here that extended warehouse management can be enhanced through B2P to meet the overall challenges of the organization, even when you come to things like building a new factory from scratch, having sustainability, which is forefront of the mind of the organization, integrating factory sensor data and having customized performance dashboards, all the way through to operating your warehousing and your distribution centers. So that is really key. So in terms of where we are, we've talked through some use cases, a customer reference story, which is specific around inventory and serving the needs of the customer. And then we've got this one here, which is really around automation and real-time monitoring of data across the supply chain. So hopefully you found this interesting and you want more information. So there is literature and we have use cases. So literature in terms of the value proposition of B2P and DSC, or in other words, the marriage of B2P and DSC. So if you want to have a look at the wedding certificate and really understand that this is a real marriage and it does work, I would encourage you to look at the B2P for DSC point of view document, which we have on SAP.com. It is a 20-page document, so it's very concise, but it's also very precise in terms of articulating the value proposition that B2P brings to supply chain. We've also got a B2P for DSC section in the B2P part of SAP.com. So you'll find a whole wealth of information on B2P for DSC in the B2P section of SAP.com. More specifically, for those of you who want a deeper dive into how does B2P work with ECC, that's there. And also, if you want to have a look at how does B2P work with Azure Cloud and provide the best of both worlds that I mentioned earlier on, again, there's information and literature on that as well. We have a number of use cases. So I'm taking you through 4 use cases today. There are other use cases for logistics. And for those of you who want to look at other aspects of the supply chain, there are a number of use cases there. I've highlighted 3 on this slide because these are the ones that we showcased at Sapphire last year, for those of you who were there. Okay, in terms of key messages. Well, what did we do at the beginning? Well, we did level set in terms of what is B2P, what does it bring in terms of technology. And just before we kicked off this presentation, Prabhjot and I were talking about technology and how it can be used as a force for good. So hopefully you've got a sense of what it can bring in terms of the analytics, integration, application development, and automation. Some people call B2P a disruptor because basically it's saying all bets are off in terms of what core solutions can do. They can do so much more with B2P. And as I mentioned before, it's not about ripping out and replacing what you've got already. On the contrary, you keep what you've got and you build on that. So it's all about enhancing the capabilities of core solutions. And something I didn't mention before, but I really do need to stress, in terms of with B2P and what it can do in terms of enhancing the solutions we have already in supply chain, you are keeping the core clean. In the past, it's all been about customizations of core solutions. It's been very expensive, difficult to maintain, etc., etc. With B2P, you keep the core clean. So it is a cost-effective and proven way of actually keeping what you have already, but extending the capabilities. with the use cases, hopefully you've seen how it connects end-to-end processes in supply chain, but more specifically builds on what you have from extended warehouse and transportation. And we've got many use cases and proof points in terms of how this is working and how the marriage between BTP and DSC is real, and it's alive, and it's working. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope we have time for questions. I've tried to respect the time contract, so we have time for questions. So I'm going to stop talking now and see if we have any questions or any points of view anybody wants to share in terms of what I've just discussed and covered today.
Sure, Fran. Thank you very much for this insightful information. So let me read out the question that we have received. The first question was, could you please give an example of how EWM is connected with BTP? I think this was asked prior to you explaining the examples or the use cases. So I hope this has been answered. And the other question that we have is, within the use case of intelligent storage location, which data type or fields does BTP need to come to the outcome? And how does BTP need, for example, for 1 year of data?
Okay, so in terms of, it doesn't need any particular type of data. And in terms of what BTP enables you to do, and maybe I didn't stress this as part of the presentation, and my apologies. In terms of some of the things in BTP does, it does enable you to bring in data in various forms. In terms of ones which it doesn't, I don't know the specifics around that, but I can certainly find out. But as far as I'm aware, it covers it in all forms. And in terms of actually building out the applications, it's very much either low code or no code. So it puts the development in the hands of logistics people rather than just IT people. So answer to your question is, it handles data in many forms. I'm not aware of any it doesn't. I'm sure there are some people back at SAP who could tell me, well, there are some specifics, but I would imagine, bearing in mind our knowledge of logistics and the solutions we provide in terms of warehouse management and transportation, I'll be very surprised if there's data which is needed to be in a certain form for this thing to work. So my short answer to the question is many forms. The exceptions will be very few.
All right. So going to the next question would be, would you have to develop BTP code internally, or can you connect it to any third-party company for slotting, for example?
Yes, well, again, low code, no code. So it puts development in the hands of logistics people, not just IT people. In terms of the different platforms, I've mentioned that BTP is available through various cloud services and offerings, and BTP integrates with all of those as well. So it enables you to do quite a few things, whether it's in terms of development. Third parties can use it as well in terms of BTP, and it can actually integrate with the organization as well. So it's one platform that can be shared, not between the organization and a third party. And as I mentioned before, in terms of the different platforms, again, it brings everything together. And I give you some examples from the Coca-Cola company.
Okay. So we have another interesting question. So this time from ECC side, that if ECC is currently integrated with the BTP, then client can decide about the brownfield S/4HANA migration. What precautions we need to consider the BTP integration?
Yeah, okay. So it really depends on the customer's transformation journey. I mean, obviously, we are encouraging all of our customers to move to the cloud. But we recognize the fact that customers are on a journey, and they may want to take advantage of some best practices while they're on that journey. So what I would say is that we have to be mindful and respectful of the customer's journey. Not all of them are going to be RISE customers and moving straight to S/4HANA. Some will be using ECC for a variety of reasons. And that's why we make BTP available to those customers. So it doesn't mean that customers who are using ECC are disadvantaged in any way. It's all part and parcel of moving towards the cloud, but enabling them to have some of the advantages of BTP during that transformation journey. And dare I say it, in terms of ECC and BTP, that can provide you with a number of benefits which could support your future business case for moving to the cloud, because clearly there are benefits of B2P plus ECC. Some of the things that we've just talked about, some of the outcomes that you can enjoy from B2P plus a DSE solution. So some of those benefits can actually support the business case in terms of investment, in terms of becoming a RISE customer. So all I would say is B2P plus ECC, fine, it works. But wouldn't it be great if that was part of your overall plan or strategy in terms of becoming a RISE customer, moving to S/4HANA Cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would also like to add that if ECC is already there and then you want to integrate with BTP, it's going to be like you are being moved on to the transformation journey like instantly. So it's like, using the BTP's full capabilities in the data which you already have. It would be simply like the instant transformation rather than going through the long route. It's the little shorter route.
Correct. That's right. That's how that's how I would look at it.
Yeah. Okay, so moving to the next question. What are the prospects of using BTP for medium scale enterprises? What percentage approximately of total BTP customers are medium scale organizations?
Yeah, okay. So most of our customers are using B2P are cloud customers, and by definition, medium-sized, large businesses. However, and I stress this, however, in terms of B2P, that covers small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large organizations as well. The reason I can say this with a degree of confidence is that when we look at the pricing of B2P in proportion to a DSE solution, it is not as high as you think it is. It is a relatively small proportion of the total bill of materials. So B2P lends itself to small, medium-sized businesses because it's not costly, it's effective, it's quick, it's low code, no code. We've got pre-built data, we've got pre-built apps, which can all be leveraged very relatively quickly and cheaply. So in proportion to the total cost of a supply chain solution is quite small. And also in terms of the cost to small, medium-sized businesses, it's not as high as you think it is. It's quite competitively priced because we recognize the fact that there could be small-scale manufacturers, there could be outsourced manufacturing operations who are not necessarily big, but they are critical to the overall supply chain of a consumer products organization, for example. So what I would say is, in terms of key messages, is that B2P is cost effective for not only for large organizations, but also for small, medium-sized businesses. And it serves the purpose in terms of building on what you have already and extending it. Again, I just want to stress, it's not for small, medium-sized businesses. It's not about ripping out and replacing what you have. It's about extending, enhancing what you've got in the most cost-effective way possible. So for small, medium-sized businesses, you're able to leverage your existing infrastructure without having to replace it. So if it's not clear already, it is a very cost-effective solution for small, medium-sized businesses.
Right. So yeah, so now with all the migration projects going on from ECC to S4HANA, will it be easy to migrate BTP from ECC to S4HANA?
Yes, is the answer. because what you're doing is moving from an on-prem solution to a cloud solution. BTP gives you that flexibility. So we talked about some of the enhancements you can have in terms of building out your capabilities in ECC, but you can actually, that can be part of the customer's journey in terms of moving to the cloud. So the short answer to that question is yes.
So the next question says, do we have any test case to forecast storage space in the warehouse to plan the ASNs, the N number of days in advance?
Yes, I've taken you through some of the use cases. I think there is one that talks about in terms of it helps a warehouse manager to plan the distribution of stock within the warehouse, not only in terms of customer deliveries, but also in terms of prioritizing deliveries and moving things around, but also in terms of SKUs. So at that precise level, and I give the example of fast-moving consumer goods company where you've got different types of different SKUs, which basically relate to the same product, but one is promotional material and the other one is non-promotional stock. So you can actually manage that at the precise SKU level. But also, we know that products respond to market conditions in different ways. There's different demands. You've got slow-moving stock, you've got fast-moving stock. And we have capabilities built out using B2P where you're able to optimize your storage locations and you're able to see in real time what is happening, and it enables you to do the future planning of your warehousing layout. So again, short answer to that question is yes, we have got that capability. It's proven, and that is borne out in one of the use cases which I took you through today.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, can you share a few examples of BTP service that is very specific to the transportation management?
I thought we had in terms of some of the use cases. So whoever's asked that question, I would encourage you to take a look at the use cases. I'm quite happy for the slides to be shared, by the way. Take a look at the use cases which have been presented today. If you do have any specific questions which are not answered by any of the use cases, then please reach out to me. My contact details are here. I'll be quite happy to answer your questions. And if necessary, we can have a separate session offline with one of the technical experts to answer any questions that I may not be able to do.
Thank you. So the next question is that the biggest hurdle to BTP adoption is that it requires a different technical skill sets or resource skill base. Can you provide some insight on how have partners and customers have worked through this with or without SAP support?
Yeah, okay. So let's just take a step back now. So in terms of digital supply specialists that we have in SAP, which I would assume is the same for our partner organizations, we do have people who are specialists by definition in digital supply chain solutions where it's designed to operate. We also have technical specialists in B2P. And for any engagement where it's B2P and DSC come together as one SAP solution, we present ourselves as one SAP organization. So we will draw in the relevant expertise as and when, whether it's more B2P resources to support a DSC plus B2P solution or vice versa. So we do have people in SAP who can help. And we've also been enabling our partners, whether they are DSC specialists, to understand B2P and know where they can get further help and information. We also have some partners who are who specialize in platform technologies, and we're also enabling them to understand what DSC can bring to the world of B2P. So the short answer to your question is we have expertise within our organization that can help you, whether you're a customer or partner, to complement the skill set that you might have. Again, I just want to stress that B2P should not be seen as a technical solution. It is a technology platform, yes, but the purpose is to enhance and extend the capabilities of DSC solutions, as well as other solutions in other areas, whether it's spend management or HR. But that is a starting position. It's there as an enabler. It's there to enhance, extend, and build upon current processes which relate to a specific business function. B2P should not be looked at as just a technology platform in isolation. It's there, it's built there, it's there to serve a purpose.
So, Frank, I was talking to someone the other day, and then similar challenge they've also shared. So the challenge they face is like, okay, we have Fiori UI5 consultants available in-house. So should we train them on BTP, or we already have ABAP consultants? Should we train the ABAP consultants who have worked in the digital supply chain area, or should we hire someone from the outside who is expert in the open source technologies like Node.js, JavaScript, and who has also some experience in UI5 Fiori? So which should be the ideal candidate to be trained into BTP?
Yeah, I think that is a fair question. And I think the answer to that question really lies in to what purpose are you trying to serve, and who are your customers? And it's looking about the skill set that you have, and then I'm just trying to complement it. As I said, the best team, the best marriage is DSC plus B2P, and to build out and enhance what you've got already. And in the same way, you should look at the resources you have, the people. If you have people who are with a specific skill set in coding, I would suggest that you probably don't need that many of them, because one of the advantages of B2P is the no-code, low-code feature. So it's really around customers have specific requirements. These are the use cases which are available through SAP. If a customer was interested in any of these particular use cases, and by the way, the use cases are there to serve as the art of the possible. As you know, there's 1,000 types of possibilities into the combinations in terms of what the customer may want. So we're not going to have a use case for everything. But look at the use cases that we have already. And I just think, okay, if I was to put this in front of the customer and I say, I like this, I want it, when can you do it? How can you do it? Then look at the resources you've got and then think, right, how would we serve this customer? Would we need to bring in specific skills? And if so, are we going to bring them in as contractors? How are we going to prove concept? So I would take a look at the skill set, take a look at some of the use cases, and then think about what additional skills do you need to be able to meet the needs of those customers if they were really interested in the art of the possible as demonstrated through those use cases. So I would take a look at it that way. Not all customers are the same. Their requirements are not going to be the same. So therefore, I'm not going to say you need that particular skill set. If you've got 10 people, 2 of them need to be this, another 2 of them need to be that, the rest need to be that. I can't really say because it's all about being able to adapt and respond to the needs of customers, but more importantly, know where you can go to get help.
Yeah, so again, so this is going to be a long debate where, back-end guys would say, we would need front-end's help, or the front-end guys would say we would need to understand the back-end code, or probably, so this is...
It's going to be a debate. You're quite right. And you may find all those skills in one person if you're lucky. That's why I said that there is not one particular answer or template that I would advocate. All I would say is look at the skill set that you have, look at what your customers are asking for, what their needs are, and then it's around bringing in the right skills to complement what you already have, either in terms of permanent headcount or bringing people in as contractors who use as and when.
Okay. So now we are moving to the next question. I think this is from someone who is already working as a functional consultant. He's asking, as an EWM and TM functional consultant, if I want to integrate BTP, what sort of prerequisites, technical knowledge do I need to learn?
Okay. Well, in terms of, it really depends on what you're trying to do. So in terms of, if we look at, say, application development, for example, where we talk about low code, no code, very little technical knowledge is required. For integration, obviously that's more complex because you need to understand the functional integration aspects of B2P. So it really depends, again, on the needs of your customers in terms of the ability to meet them. But in terms of the training, we do have a partner enablement team within SAP that can provide you with that help and support. There are various things you can download as well in terms of tutorials. So the help is there within B2P, and you can become obviously certified through that. So there is an accreditation program. So what I will suggest is that if this is something you're interested in, then please reach out to me and I will put you in touch with somebody from our partner ecosystem who can actually help you. So I haven't got visibility of the chat in terms of who asked me, but my details are there. Please reach out to me. But the short answer to your question is we can certainly help you.
Okay, so is there any program or a course that has been designed by SAP to
Yes,
assist
there
with
are. Yeah.
the BTP?
Yes, there are. So our partner ecosystem has been very busy during the last few years in terms of putting together tutorials and sessions which can be downloaded. We do have courses from time to time as well that people can actually subscribe to and follow.
Hmm. And if I'm not wrong, I think there is a specific YouTube channel as well for BTP. People
Yes,
can go there and learn.
that's right. Yeah. So there's plenty of channels and avenues for you to explore to bring yourself up to speed in terms of what is B2P and how you go about actually taking a look at the organization's IT infrastructure and thinking about how you can actually use B2P to create a more exciting and interesting infrastructure where B2P is actually embedded in the digital supply chain solutions.
Okay, so with this, we come to that was the last question that we have. So in case you have any other information you want to add or and any experience you want to share about BTP, because we still have like 7 minutes more. So I don't want to, waste any time without getting any knowledge.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in my introduction, I've got well, I didn't say, but I've got over 25 years experience in procurement supply chain. So I would describe myself as a procurement supply chain person who understands technology rather than the other way around. And for me, I really do believe that B2P is a game changer in this space. It enables us to professionalize and digitalize what we're doing in logistics and warehousing. You and I were talking earlier on in terms of, what we've seen in terms of digitalization in the last 5 to 10 years. It's all been around production planning. It's all been around manufacturing, digitalizing manufacturing, reducing waste, reducing headcount, making operations more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also been about optimizing the planning that you might have across across multiple manufacturing sites, and also integrating your outsourced manufacturing into your operations. That's really where a lot of the talk around digitalization has been, and there's lots of use cases around that and proof points. A huge potential exists in logistics. And as I mentioned before, logistics in terms of warehousing and distribution is the last stop before you reach the customer.
Right.
So this is the last mile of the overall supply chain, if you want to call it that. It's underestimated because people just think it's about moving stock, and how can it be? The customer wants that, you move the stock. They want it tomorrow, you work out, you plan your logistics and deliver it. But we know it's more complex than that. So for me, what I would say in terms of the last few minutes I have is that there's a lot of potential into the B2P to enhance and extend logistics for us to meet service levels, reduce write-offs in warehousing, for us to optimize the amount of stock. So in other words, having enough stock into the stock cover, and the stock cover you need depends on whether it's slow-moving or fast-moving product. It enables you to professionalize all that, have customized dashboards so you don't physically have to go out into the warehouse, count the stock. You know what is there, you can plan your deliveries, and you can meet your SLAs, or in some cases, beat your SLAs. Because that is the way, that is where the world is going in terms of resilience, in terms of any disruptions, whether it's COVID, things with the Suez Canal a few years ago, geopolitical challenges that we face in the world today. It's all going to be about supply chains competing against supply chains. But the last mile is going to be very, very critical. And if you want to embed best practices into your logistics, and don't get me wrong, in SAP, we have some of the best solutions you're going to find in the marketplace in terms of warehousing, distribution, etc., etc. But we recognize the needs of some customers are very, very specific. Every warehousing manager, every logistics director, every supply chain director has their own view of what does good look like. And this is where B2P enables you to leapfrog the competition by saying, yes, we can meet your specific needs because we have B2P, which builds out what you have already. So that is what I would say. The potential for logistics is huge. And it's going to become more critical as organizations realize the last mile is where they win or lose customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, with the introduction of private cloud and their services, I think if we integrate those services also in SAP along with BTP, the experience would be exponential, I believe.
Absolutely, yes. And that's hopefully, that was hopefully, what people picked up from the very first slide that I presented in terms of the flexibility and the ability for B2P to work with different cloud solutions. And I give an example of how B2P can actually integrate with different solutions, whether they are from Salesforce or Workday, and obviously SAP. So that integration and the ability to have B2P services sitting alongside other cloud services is a game changer.
Right. So yeah, I think we have the final question. Is BTP game changer for optimizing the warehouses?
Yes. And hopefully you've got a sense of that from what I've just said in the last 2-3 minutes. But don't just take my word for it. Take a look at the use cases in more depth. Ask questions of SAP if you want more information. But the short answer to that question is definitely yes. It is a game changer, and it supports organizations in terms of their transformation journey. And we know that organizations, and you and I were talking about this earlier on, cannot stand still. The world is changing around them. And who's to say next year that you may have your regional distribution center in the wrong place? It might have been in the right place historically, but what about other distribution centers? What about the mix between external carriers and your own network? You might need to review that balance. You might need to think about how you optimize your entire logistics network to meet some of the challenges we've been talking about. Now, for some people, that's very daunting. It's kind of, ooh, I've got to rip out and replace things. I've got to do this. Well, actually, you haven't. With B2P, it's about extending and enhancing that. So you may have your warehouse perhaps okay, I mean, building a new regional distribution center may not be the answer, but how you utilize your existing logistics network infrastructure is required to be changed in terms of the mix between some of the things I was talking about. So it enables you to get the best out of what you currently have. So that's a game changer for BTP. The flexibility that it offers enables you to respond to market conditions, enables you to meet your SLAs, if not beat them. And as I said before, the last mile of your supply chain is going to become more and more critical as the years go by.
Sure. I think, in my opinion, it is definitely a game changer, not only in the warehousing, the entire logistics, and definitely other modules as well. So it has the values that it provides to the different, I would say the entire SAP as such is phenomenal. So
Absolutely, yes. And hopefully I brought that to life with the customer story that I talked about, where you could see it was around planning, manufacturing, asset management, as well as logistics. So we shouldn't just look at logistics in isolation. Yes, the last mile is critical, but it's the other parts of the supply chain that enable you to get to that last mile.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. So the infrastructure, or I would say the baseline should be ready. Then the scaling up becomes really very easy. That I would say. All right, Frank, thank you very much. I've taken 1 minute extra of your time. So if I get more questions in my email, I'll send it across to you. And if in case you get in your mailbox, do not forget to send it to me.
Of course, yes. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about something I'm passionate about. And I hope everybody has enjoyed listening to this presentation as much as I've enjoyed giving it.
So, thank you very much, Frank. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.